Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Downloadable Opinions, episode number
15.
15?
Yes.
That is the... Where'd 14 go? Man, time flies when we're doing this show. I can't even remember entire weeks. But anyways,
ladies and gentlemen, this is why I edit the show.
This is the show where we talk about the opinions that we have on the gaming industry, as well as some of the top news of the week. So without further ado, my name is Brian Best, and joining me as always is the lovely and talented Adam Gayton. How are you?
Don't you ever call me lovely again. No.
Okay, fine. I was trying to give you a better name than the villain, Adam Gayton, because...
I like being the villain.
I know, but some people want to be seen as the good guy, you know, sometimes.
I don't mean the bad guy wins me more money, and I usually get a really nice mustache.
That's true.
Unless you're Wario, that's a different story.
That is a different story. But anyways, we're going to get into the top weekly stories of the week of stuff and time and place and spaces. Getting into the top story of today, Steam just released their new add-on to the service, which is called the Big Picture, or Big Picture. Essentially, it is a service to allow you to play Steam games on your television. So the process, as I understand it, is that you hook up your PC to a TV, so an HD TV, say you have a nice, big 42-inch plasma, awesome, sexy TV. You hook up Steam to this, you hit a button in the corner, and it pops up into this full-screen mode. It is all designed to be used with a controller. So if you have an Xbox 360 controller, you can hook it up and start playing the game. It's really kind of cool. It's got a really nice system for doing QWERTY keyboards, because it does have an entire full internet browser based inside it, and I think actually Valve has done the best job at making this the most usable internet-based console-based browser system that, you know, is there. But yeah. Anyways, Adam, you saw a little bit of it. What do you think of Steam moving to the television?
It's Steam on television.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can get a better mixture right now.
Well, think about it. Like, how many games do you have on Steam right now?
Well, I don't have any. I'm not the one that sits on the summer sale and buys like 100 things like somebody in this room.
Yes, and Visa is still after me for some of the stuff on there, but... I mean, I have tons of games that I have on my PC. Actually, I have more PC games than I have Xbox games. And that some people would consider that to be sad, but it is awesome to have. But the thing is, I want to play some of these games on the television, because I have a 13.3-inch laptop. I have a Alienware MX-11. It's a tiny screen to be looking at Altair just jumping around in Assassin's Creed, or Gordon Freeman shooting Combine in Half-Life 2. And like this update, I've been really looking forward to be honest.
Well, most PC gamers will be. I mean, there are ways to hook it up to a TV already, but I mean, this is a much more accessible and easy way to do it, which is a no-brainer, really. I mean, I know there's a lot of guys that play everything on Steam. There are a lot of people that do that now because Steam literally has everything you could want. I mean, with me, the only game I'm going to have for Steam come the 14th is Faster Than Light, which really isn't a graphics-heavy game, and a game that you really need to play on a TV. So, for me personally, it's not a big deal, but I mean, for the industry itself, that's huge. Yeah. The fact that, you know, something that we are so used to having to use a computer screen for is now being upgraded to 48 inches or whatever.
Exactly. It's huge, and the thing is that this is a huge leap for Valve in that they're moving into the console.
I don't think people had any idea what these guys were doing when they said they were going to start making hardware. This is what they're doing already, and we're not even at the... We haven't even reached the iceberg yet, and we're not even...
It's massive, and like, if you start putting the pieces together with what Valve has done and what, people within Valve have been saying, we could easily see this company going right after Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo.
And they easily could. They easily could right now.
Absolutely. They have a player base of, what, 50 million players?
A lot.
It's a huge amount, and the games are ridiculously cheap. Some of the stuff that I'm going to put together for you...
Well, I mean, now they got the Greenlight project, too, which is getting even more stuff in there.
Yeah, they're going to have a bunch of indie games. You're going to have support for those games afterwards, and it's just going to be a great system altogether.
Everybody at one point thought, for some stupid reason, that Facebook was going to be charging indie games, like going to be taking control of it, and then Steam's just like, no.
No.
Ours.
Guess what? mine. But yeah, no, it's one thing that's going to happen, and what that's already been happening is Valve is starting to look into developing games for Linux, so Ubuntu, Red Hat, what have you. And once they get that started working, so Left 4 Dead comes out for that. Now, if they get all their games working on Linux, they can start actually making set-top boxes. Because think about it, when you have to work with Microsoft or Apple, you have to pay that licensing fee to those two companies in order to do anything. So a Valve or a Steam box is really not... It couldn't happen because the whole system is based upon a PC. If they made the move to Linux, it's entirely possible we could see a Steam console come out and have running a district of Linux, some kind of form of Linux anyways, maybe Ubuntu, maybe something of their own blend, and just run any kind of game that they have.
And a lot of people are probably thinking about this, thinking a fourth console that might kill something. Well, remember that Sega at one point was in there too. Mm-hmm. And there's always like all these other things. I mean, we got Ouya coming out too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think the best thing for the industry right now would be Steam to have a console. Well, because that would force these companies, especially Sony, who really needs to fix their issues with downloading and all their... I've heard a lot of complaints with and I don't know if you've had the experience yet, but apparently transferring things from your PS3 to your Vita is a pain in the ass.
No, I haven't had that. It's not on PS3. But the thing is with Valve is, and unlike Ouya, unlike Sega, unlike a bunch of other companies, Steam has, or Valve has, customers already, and they're just supplanting the customers from the PC base into whatever console they develop. And imagine if, or if you will, it's an intellectual dessert, that when they get ready to launch this new product, if and when they do, they announce that Half-Life Episode 3, or Half-Life 3, will be coming out first on this console.
Well, what else would they put on it first?
Dear God, this thing would sell like hotcakes.
Well, the other thing you got to think too is that, since PC gaming is such an expensive, thing to go after, having a Steam box would be the instant solution to that problem for PC gamers, because it's still going to be dedicated towards them, because Valve is completely dedicated to their PC base, even though they're making stuff for the Xbox and the PS3.
Yeah.
God forbid, if they ever try starting to make stuff for Nintendo, I will immediately start hating them. But, there are companies that still haven't taken the Wii U seriously, too, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who's been mentioning it. I think it might have actually been Valve that said it. That they just have no interest and they don't see any future with it right now.
Well, it's entirely possible.
And I don't blame them, because Valve could make a hell of a lot more money just making their own thing than going on another company.
Valve is the one company that has this ability to do that. I mean, they have the research and they have the capital in order to develop their own console.
So could another companies, but they're not stupid enough to try it.
Well, it's an impenetrable market, and Valve has that penetration with their customers.
I mean, if EA made Origin actually,
EA doesn't
useful. They could have thought about it, but because Origin is a useless piece of junk, there's just they're out of the talks. Activision could, but they're too busy just making nerds wet their pants with Call of Duty and Warcraft. So,
but those two companies could never do it because they could never get all the games at once. So
EA
could run their maybe 5 AAA titles at one time.
I mean, they always could buy like indie makers, but I mean, Valve already has that entire library of games ready to go if they need it. So,
but the thing is, when Valve moves to this system, all the publishers are going to jump on top of it because they're already there.
Yep.
If any other company went and tried to do this, like say the late on live, I mean, they
had to start from scratch, and look at where it got them.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens with big picture in the future. However, I think this is the first stepping stone. Well, it's a bunch of stepping stones, but this is the big stepping stone for Valve to get out there and actually become a console system. And I mark my words, I think they will be.
Yeah, let's just say it right now. Let's mark this day.
Yeah.
This could be the day, or at least the announcement, that could change what we see in gaming.
Yep.
I really do think this, just from what I've seen.
This is a massive day for both PC gaming as well as the game industry itself. So we'll see where this goes forward with. I imagine in the next year or so we're going to see something. So let's get into the next story of our lovely roundup. Is Metal Gear Solid Konami. Kojima. There's a bunch of K's, okay? I'm sorry. Konami had a big press event, and Kojima-san was there announcing that Metal Gear Solid, for their 25th anniversary,
yes,
right? is going to be having a brand new game made called MGS, or Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes.
Still a better name than Revengeance.
So much better.
Ground Zeroes is still a silly sounding title, but Revengeance is just the champion at this point.
Well, again, Revengeance is also being developed by a third party too.
I'm just saying. Stop! No, stop arguing. Let's just be honest. It's a terrible name.
It's a terrible
Ground
name.
Zeroes is kind of a silly name too, but it's not.
But the thing is, this is a first party game.
Yes.
This is going to be developed
and looks a lot better.
It does look a hell of a lot better. So let's get into. We saw it was about a 15-minute trailer.
It was about 15-minute demo.
It was a very interesting, basically overview of this game. It takes place in the Peace Walker kind of era. So you're playing as Big Boss as opposed to Solid Snake, and it's just really interesting because it's one continuous shot. From the moment the trailer starts, it goes from we see this guy get into a Jeep, go to the POW camp, had a kid, what was it, an MP3 or something like that device, or like a
I can't
Walkman?
remember. I think it was something along those lines.
Walks away and gets on a helicopter, Flight of the Valkyries plays. And then we see our protagonist scaling a wall, and then it gets right into gameplay. Now, I'm a little skeptical about whether or not this is actual true gameplay, but it looks really slick. If it is, this is the first debut of basically Hideo Kojima's team's new Fox engine, which they've shown a bunch of tech demos for, but this is the first time we've actually seen a real game played on it.
It looks sexy.
It looks really sexy. And the really big thing about this is that they're moving away. Metal Gear Solid has always been a linear kind of path connecting... Well, not really. It's been basically, here's a set mission. You can go places within this mission, but you're locked up by keycards, etc. Anyways, they've done away with all that. This is an open world game.
You can literally stop a mission halfway and go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. That's pretty insane when you think of this type of game, although I'm trying to wonder how this would work in a logical standpoint, because when you're thinking, you're supposed to be dealing with this. Why are you leaving? Why are you leaving the mission?
I imagine there's going to be things in place. I mean,
where you can't
leave.
We don't know the plot, so we're not really sure what's going to actually go on during this. But it's a very interesting idea.
Yeah, it's a very interesting idea. There has been some talk about who are the villains in the entire. Basically the villain that we saw in Ground Zeroes. It was actually talked about, you probably don't know who this is, but from Metal Gear Solid, Decoy Octopus is actually the basically unnamed kind of villainous looking person in the trailer who hands the MP3 device to the kid. So if that's the case, it could be something that ties together basically Peace Walker to the Metal Gear Solid franchise when it starts off with Solid Snake. So yeah, pretty interesting.
I mean, we already know that Kojima did not plan on making anything else, so it's definitely the safer option for them to go with this storyline, because Snake's not going to get any younger, and I think it'd be a bit of a cop-out if they just say, oh, well, this happened in between 2 and 3 or something like that. Yeah. Just be like, no, guys, we know it's done.
Yeah. 3 takes place in the 60s.
I told you I don't know anything.
It's okay. But if you think about the evolution of Metal Gear Solid, this has been kind of the way it's been leaning towards. Going from Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2, it's that kind of linear gameplay. And when you get up to 3 and 4, it really opens up to being a little bit more of a broader world, especially in 4, where you get a very large map to navigate through, as well as having the Drebin store and a couple of different ways of attempting each mission. So this is I think it's a great way for the Metal Gear Solid franchise to go.
Now, the only thing that people are going to start thinking is since 4 became a little more assault-like, it wasn't completely stealth-based, is people are going to start saying, well, what if they get even more how Dead Space is becoming more to casual gamers? I'm sorry, guys, but it's a good thing. I could never play a Metal Gear Solid game in full because I'm just not patient enough to play an entire game stealth-wise. So to be able to leave open world options to have, if we want to just go in guns a-blazing, we can. It'd be a dumb idea, but, we can do that.
Now, I've had rants about stealth-based action games on the show before, and it's the same thing. I don't want this to be. I want this to have the option to have a really stealthy gameplay.
And they'll give that to you. I know people aren't thinking it's not going to get to the point where it's going to be Call of Duty, guys. Okay, so don't worry about that.
Yeah.
But like they need to find a balance so that people who aren't, the guys who want to literally sit there and hide behind a rock for 2 minutes just for the perfect moment. There are guys who just want to, either get a quick couple of snipes off and go for it, or just throw a grenade to divert the attention and bolt it. That's the kind of thing we want.
Yeah.
So if you can get that kind of balance, and I think they can accomplish this now that they got their new engine in place and they are concentrating on a much more open world environment, I think that's more than possible.
Well, I think so too. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. Obviously, the story is going to be the big thing about it because, I mean, that's what Metal Gear Solid games are all about. It's all about that story, that conspiracy, that action, So, it'll be interesting to see where that goes. All the voice actors, I believe, are signed on. I think David Hayter's back.
Well, really, people would completely destroy the company if he wasn't.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just the voice. It's so identifiable,
Can you imagine how many people will cry if he just suddenly passed away? He's like, Snake! That's a terrible joke, but
Dun, 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 dun. Solid Snake, yes.
Oh, man.
Jeez. Yeah, well, of course, they could always just ask, someone like Ego Raptor to step up to the plate.
That would be pretty awesome. I think fans would be like, okay, that's probably the best, solution we could have to this.
Absolutely. And you know what? Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes is going to be a far superior game just because it's going to get that real first-party support from Konami, as opposed to Revengeance.
Konami, Kojima. There's no mixing.
I did the words. You know how bad I am with words on the show.
Yeah, but you didn't even write anything down this time, so you should be okay.
Be quiet there. Okay, so Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes is a TBA. We do not know when it's going to be announced or, released, but keep looking for it at, what's the next game show coming up? I believe it's TGS or it's E3. Probably TGS.
Yeah, I think TGS is in, the early New Year, isn't it?
Yeah, it should
I think it's February that they usually have it.
Yeah, so you're definitely going to see it at TGS because Japan loves Konami and Kojima. Words.
Who doesn't love Kojima? Even, I'm not a big fan of the series, but I respect that this guy is probably one of the more intelligent writers in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyways, we're going to get into the quick time events. Adam, what do we have first?
I have to take this one because I'm sure Brian doesn't give two shits. NHL 13 comes out tomorrow, which is very awkward because there might not be hockey this season. I thought there was this funny picture last week where I think it was even a couple days ago, but it was a picture of Gary Bettman, who's the commissioner of the NHL.
Yep.
And they colored him purple, had his teeth look like a vampire, and he had the little ears, so he looked like the Count from Sesame Street. And he goes, 1 week till lockout. And I'm just like, that's amazing. It's kind of funny because really, it's kind of a plus that hockey might not happen this year because it means all the stupid people that are only going to buy the game because the season's up, they're like, man, I got to play this. The only people that are going to want to buy this game are the people that actually still care about hockey, which means I might actually enjoy it a little bit.
Yep.
But then against an EA Sports title, so for all I know, it could be a roster update with 2 tweaks that still kill the game. So, either way, I digress. I'm really excited because I'm making my brother pick it up tomorrow while I'm at work because I am not wasting my time going there at 5 o'clock to pick up a game. I'm only going to get to play for 2 hours. So fuck that shit.
Well, from what I saw at Gamescom, it should be a very interesting game for all audiences, especially the German folks who got to see our little Tim Hortons.
Yeah, what is it, Tim Hortons?
Next up, Sony Killzone 3-pack comes out. This is all 3 games of the Killzone series for $40 on the PlayStation 3. So, I mean, the Killzone series is actually really fun.
I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's pretty much next to Resistance. It's the next best thing they've done shooter-wise on their own console. It's one of their exclusives.
Well, it's really the only first-person shooter game from Sony. Mm-hmm. So, this is definitely a must-buy for a lot of PS3
especially users. For those who, Killzone, the original, was on the PS2. So, I mean, for people, that's pretty good that they're going to be able to... I don't know if it'll be slightly remastered or anything, and they might just have the original game on there. But either way, to be able to play that on your PS3 again,
yeah,
that's absolutely a pretty exciting deal.
Well, I mean, especially if you're that Call of Duty fanboy who's like, okay, I've played so much, I've prestiged so many times in Modern Warfare 3, and I'm dying for Black Ops 2.
Or you're just sick of that terrible, terrible game. I've played Black Ops so much more lately because Black Ops actually makes sense most of the time.
So if you're in that minority of shooters, shooting people...
There's not a minority of shooters anymore.
Go pick up this game. It should be $40, and it comes out in the next few days or so.
And last but not least, we did mention Metal Gear Solid already, but there are plans because Assassin's Creed's getting a movie that they want to make a Metal Gear Solid movie. Now, there are two things that need to be said. One, if it's in real time, people are going to be pissed because there's no reason they can give David Hayter the role this time. So, two, it must be CGI. But if it is real time, and I said this to you before the podcast started, is that if they want to base a story, everybody is going to be praying that it's off the original Metal Gear Solid because everybody wants to see who's going to play Meryl.
My vote is Karen Gillan from Doctor Who. And I think that's IGN's choice as well.
I think it is too.
Alright, so we're going to get into the open-ended question of the week. And that is going to be, since the release of Guild Wars 2 came out a little while ago, the state of actual MMOs today. Because at the end of the month, we're going to see World of Warcraft's, I'm going to say, last expansion pack.
Fingers crossed. I'm sick of hearing that name now.
Mists of Pandaria will come out on September 20th.
Next thing you know, EverQuest is something in a pub and go, oh, for God's sake!
But anyways, Guild Wars 2 is actually, it's a really different game because, like the original Guild Wars, all you pay is that $60 to get the game, and then that's it. You don't pay for anything else.
Like, the whole idea of what you get when you pay for the disc is that's all of it. Oh my God, who thought of this idea?
You don't just get 60 days of gameplay, you get the entire game and you get to play it. The idea is that Guild Wars has always come out with more expansions, and when you buy those expansions, those help run the server costs. I believe there is like a little bit of microtransaction to the game.
Yeah, but every game would have it.
It's very minimal in terms of what's actually there. It's not a free-to-play game.
It's not like to the point where if you don't buy anything, you're screwed.
Yeah. Now, me and Adam, we got into this conversation about this. I think this is the last great MMO to come out, in my opinion.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that BioWare even couldn't hold up its end of the bargain. It did a great job, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's hard to revive a type of game that's just been so run into the ground. Mm-hmm. So I mean, Guild Wars has solved that problem because they've literally made it as old school and hardcore as they possibly can, and not reach into your wallet every fucking month.
Yeah. And getting rid of the subscription thing has always been the main reason why Guild Wars has been successful. Not to mention that it is a really fun fantasy-based MMORPG. I will say that I've dabbled in Guild Wars.
That was probably the only MMO I've been able to play for a considerable amount of time.
And I haven't, I played Guild Wars because I never wanted to get into WoW. I dislike WoW with a passion.
Yeah, I got the free trial once, and I literally lasted 2 days before I said, this is just pointless.
But even still, I could never get into MMOs because they were so static.
It's really hard, and the main thing that a lot of people used to give again, it's the fetch quest.
Yeah.
There are none in Guild Wars. None.
Everything I've seen from Guild Wars, the trailers, the gameplay, it is a very fluid and dynamic game. They
did so many things to that game that took away every little tiny thing that pissed people off about the normal MMORPG. Mm-hmm. The biggest one is the one I told you earlier too, where you can literally fight a gigantic boss with 99 other people and still get a lot of experience out of it because you're doing this together. There's also that big deal that, especially in free-to-play games, which was terrible, is that people would always be waiting for quests to spawn. Mm-hmm. Because there would always be certain quests where you need to talk to this certain person and lead them out or something like that.
Yep.
The game, Guild Wars finally figured, we should not have to make people do that. Because what would happen is people would stand there and wait for that quest to spawn. And if anybody got remotely near it, they'd just beat the shit out of them to keep them away from it.
Yeah. It takes the MMO, it's a really great fantasy-based role-playing game. And I will say, from everything I've seen, it looks like a really good fantasy-based RPG.
The only thing that's been given against it is that sometimes the wait times to get into a PvP match can be a little bit... No, not the PvP, but they have this other one where it's a PvW or PV, yeah, like player versus world kind of deal, where it's kind of like a 3-faction kind of deal where you're trying to take lands and that kind of stuff. Apparently it takes a long, like we're not talking 5 minutes. We're talking like an hour to two hours to finding just one server for it.
Those are bugs for a game,
which is it's obviously patchable.
It's patchable, and I mean that's one thing out of many other great things.
Yeah.
But let's get into the actual state of MMOs today, because we've got WoW, who has always been like the father of all modern MMORPGs, and they're dying. They're like, we're seeing people leave WoW in droves.
Just pull the plug.
Mr. Pandaria, I have a real gut feeling that it's not going to do anything for the subscription numbers.
Because I think it's at the point now where I think no matter how old a game, like no matter how good a game is, when it gets older and older, you will eventually lose people. I mean, there are people who obviously still play like really old games like the original Call of Duties, like that came out on the Xbox 360. I know there are people that still do, but like it only gets to such a point. I mean, thank God the new Counter-Strike came out, because I'm sure people are so sick of Source.
Yeah, absolutely. And like it's just, I mean, Counter-Strike is one thing, because that is one standalone game where it's dedicated servers, you get to play with a community. That's one thing. It's not like WoW, where it's a giant world where you play and like you hit a max level. Like in Counter-Strike, it's skill. With WoW, it's leveling up. I mean, players will argue with me that there is skill to this game, but if you just have 5 players, you can, or 4, well, however many it needs,
you can plan enough. You can plan enough that you can still do your job.
Yeah.
The thing is with these games is that there's always going to be a ceiling. You're always going to get to a point where you cannot go any higher.
EVE Online is my only counter to that.
Most MMOs are like that, where there's just going to be a point where you'll eventually stop. You'll hit a point where you just cannot go any further.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I mean, we've seen that with these games. Like Diablo 3 was beaten in, 18 hours? And granted, that's not an MMO, but it plays like one.
You can beat Skyrim really quickly if you try to, but I mean...
You're going to miss a lot of content.
Yeah.
But even still, Mr. Pandaria, and the reason why I'm saying my gut feeling is it's not going to do well while I don't play WoW, is because I have friends that are crazy into basically the fantasy, the online stuff. They're really big League of Legends fans, Dota fans, and whatnot. And they are not interested in it at all.
I think it's because the point that people are pretty sure by looking at what's in the content for this expansion that it's like, you're just trying to get another little bit of cash out of us, aren't you?
And it's like, Mr. Pandora, this is like that really crappy DreamWorks film that came out years ago.
I mean, the only chance they really have of getting some sales back is if they start doing those really awesome commercials that they used to do.
Yeah, which I don't think Blizzard has all that much money to do. The only thing I really think, I mean, this is going into what Blizzard's problem is now, is that they are running low on running out of steam on their main party games. I mean, Diablo 3 tanked, and a lot of players are moving over to Torchlight, because it's a better Diablo 3 game.
To be honest, I'm not shocked about Diablo 3. I'm sitting there thinking it's been such a long time since 2. There's no way that people are going to ever accept it fully.
Well, I talked to my friend who is a really big Diablo. He's a big Blizzard everything. His name's Fletcher Gates.
I know Fletch.
Yeah. He told me the story about why Diablo 3 is an absolute dismal. Is because the entire team from Diablo 2, or at least most of them, had gone off and away because Blizzard had either got rid of them, lost their way. There was a bunch of reasons for why they left, and then a lot of them came and formed the Torchlight series.
That's what happens when you have 10 plus years of inactivity with it.
Yeah.
Something's going to have to change.
Absolutely. And we saw, I mean, sometimes it's for the best. Like we saw that with Valve, where Half-Life 2 came around after 13 years, and it's an amazing game. It still holds water today.
Yeah. There are always diamonds in the rough, but in most cases, if when movies get revived after like a 10-year hiatus or something, like Total Recall movie was a complete piece of crap.
You know what they're remaking? A Christmas Story.
Yeah, I saw Christmas Story 2. I saw that.
Holy crap, Hollywood, you suck for remaking that.
I think it was Movie Bob that posted it at the end of one of his movie reviews, and he posted the picture of the poster of it, and he goes, "Now your day is ruined. You're welcome."
Just giant fuck
Just you. Like, oh my god.
But anyways, moving back onto the topic of MMOs, let's look at what's coming out in the future. So the 2 MMOs I'm looking forward to most is Dust 514 and PlanetSide 2. Both are first-person shooter MMO games.
Yeah, I've got that very well. I've had you who's gone nuts over Dust 514. I've had a guy from England who literally will not shut up about PlanetSide 2. I'm like, dude, you have to play something else. No, I gotta play. Shut up, play your hockey, go away.
And the thing is, I know both those games will not last as long as Guild Wars 2, I think. And they both have a shelf life, for the exception of Dust 514, just because it's attached to CCP Games and EVE Online. I can see Sony Online really losing their stuff with PlanetSide 2.
I think I'm pretty sure a game like that will get a good sales reception.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it will be the staying power that will be a whole different story.
The thing is, if they pull...
So really what we need to hope is that they make enough money off the sales that, it can justify ever trying something like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know what? You can say what you will about Sony Online. The games that they have had are innovative. Star Wars Galaxies was fun up until a certain point, fanboys. I mean, I know that patch that got rid of the Jedis and fuck you, but
we know. We know. Calm down.
Okay. EverQuest 2. EverQuest obviously is a very big MMO series and still has a lot of fans today.
And then the joke. Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy.
11, 10. Actually, I know people who still play 11 on the Xbox, which is scary to me.
I
tweeted a very startling thing too.
Mm-hmm.
I know this can't be true, but Raptor tracks my hours, right?
Yeah.
And they said, because I was just playing Mass Effect 2 because I'm trying to get things going to get up to 3 again because I want to completely replay it all.
Mm-hmm.
They said somebody has more than 1,500 hours of Mass Effect 2 logged in. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I know there is no possible way you could play this game for that long because it doesn't have multiplayer like 3. So I'm sitting there thinking, what kind of idiot puts the game on and just leaves the TV for months just to be at the top of a leaderboard that basically screams, you have no life?
Yeah.
But going on to Final Fantasy, because I just trailed off there, you can tell where MMOs are going when they make a game and it's so bad they have to completely shut it down and restart it.
Yeah, that's true.
Enough said. That a game with a license like that even can't do it right anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean...
I think what it is that people have been so desensitized to MMOs that now that if they see anything that's remotely the same of what's always been out there, it's why I can't imagine how free-to-plays are still doing well.
Yeah.
Because everything is the exact same as the other.
I don't understand it either. I mean, there are some
I've
niches.
heard Dungeon Fighter Online is becoming huge now.
Yeah? With free-to-play?
Yeah. But I think it's because it's something different than everything else. It's not just the usual run around a circle, click, wait.
Well, there are some...
Oh, I won! Let's go do a fetch quest.
There are some really big free-to-play games out there that have gotten a lot of attention.
Wasn't MapleStory free-to-play at one point?
Yeah.
Because I know MapleStory a few years back got really big at one point.
Yeah, MapleStory. And to be honest, it's still around, so it still has a very active community.
One thing that I've noticed lately is that, actually in the last 5 years, there's a lot of things that I liked that all of a sudden got a free-to-play online MMO, and I was kind of like, why, guys?
Yeah.
Shin Megami Tensei made a frickin' online MMO.
Really?
A free-to-play MMO, and it was just like, why?
The thing is, it's so much...
It doesn't work.
But the thing is, when you have these, it runs into the same problem that the video game industry had back in the 1980s, where there was just so much crap. And it really brought down the entire game industry until Nintendo came along.
Yeah, can you imagine where we'd be if the game industry wasn't shit for the first 10, 15 years it was around?
Well, yeah, if they found a way to regulate themselves, yes, it would have been...
Can you imagine where we'd be at now?
It'd be crazy. But
we'd have a Steam box already.
We'd have a Steam box already. The thing is, with the MMOs that we have right now, and the ones that are coming out future, they all are embracing this free-to-play kind of mantra, because you do make more money, and the stats are there. You can have fewer people and have make more money in a free-to-play model than as opposed to a subscription-based.
I almost want the Elder Scrolls team to just stop making their online game.
Oh, God,
I really do, because I don't want them to fail.
I don't want them to fail either. I
know they're going to fail.
The thing is...
Because like we said, I can't remember which episode it was, but it was near the beginning of our podcast.
Yes.
Where we mentioned that they were planning on going to free-to-play at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, why would you say that now when people are going to be paying for subscription?
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. I think Bethesda will look at the Elder Scrolls Online game because it will sell. It will sell in record numbers. Well, maybe not.
It won't sell. I think it'll sell enough to the point they might like break even on it if they're lucky. Yeah. But
a lot of fans will buy into that because it is an Elder Scrolls game. However,
and then they'll see it and go back to Skyrim within a week.
They really have to pay a lot of attention. Like, they take so much time and have so much patience with the Elder Scrolls series because when you look at Skyrim as a whole, it is a massive game. Like, there's hundreds upon hundreds of hours of content in there if you let it take you in.
See, that's a game I can accept somebody putting 1,500 hours in. Actually, well, I shouldn't say. I can't really accept anybody putting 1,500 hours into anything.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even the most that I've done for any game that Raptors tracks since I've done it is Minecraft, which is like 350. And that's over, how long has it been out? Since May?
Since May, yeah.
So we're talking 350 hours in maybe 6 months-ish.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not in 6 months. But yeah,
that's a lot.
It's a lot, but I mean, it's a game that you're not going to play 1,500 hours of without getting bored of it at some point, which I am, which is why I'm hoping for the update to come sooner than later, so I have a reason to be interested again. Because I've tried to play the PC version, I can't because I'm just while it has other things, the Enderman scared the shit out of me the first time I saw one of them, but you know, it's not really giving me too much extra to go with, so it's like I'm not really getting much more.
Yeah, well, I mean. That's with Minecraft, but I
think that's why I like the Xbox version because there was a lot more people to it, and it was much more streamed.
It's a bigger community, yeah. But I mean, and that's the thing with Elder Scrolls. There will be that community at first, but I can see it quickly going away because they are not continuing that genre in a first-person mode. They said it was going to be third-person, which is a terrible idea. If they kept it first-person, it would.
You have to imagine though, it would kill frame rate if they tried to go first-person for everything.
Yeah, but there's got to be a better way of doing this.
I'm sure there would.
You know what would be the best way? The absolute best way, if they made it exactly like, in terms of multiplayer, exactly like how, Monster Hunter is.
Oh, yeah.
If they did that, oh god, it would sell like hotcakes.
Well, never mind, Monster Hunter, you might want to make an online game fast. I think people would buy that.
Well, the thing is, if you don't know what
Monster Hunter kind of all this online-ish, isn't it? I think the new ones are kind of like that.
They're kind of like that, but with Monster Hunter, it's basically like 4 or 5 people total for your entire world, and it's really fun. Like, it's really, really addictive.
Really, really hard, too. Oh my god, you get your ass handed to you the first little while.
Yeah, there's a PSP version out of Monster Hunter, whatever it is. My friends were playing it for so long, and it was just like it consumed their life essentially.
It's fucking huge in Japan. That's like the thing to do out there.
But imagine if the next Elder Scrolls 5 or Elder Scrolls Online turns into Elder Scrolls 5. Imagine if they had that kind of model for multiplayer. Like I think that would be the really cool way of doing things.
5 is Skyrim.
Elder Scrolls 4.
4 was Oblivion.
Really?
Yeah, 4 is Oblivion, 5 Skyrim.
Crap! Damn it! Elder Scrolls 5
There, see, I made the mistake with Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, so there, we're even.
And fanboys attack. But yeah.
That's why we're broadcasting from an undisclosed location.
My house.
Which is an undisclosed location.
Anyways. Yeah, no. That's in terms of like major MMOs that are coming out in the future. I mean, obviously not Skyrim. Elder Scrolls Online will be the next fantasy one that we can think of.
And then we have to hope PlanetSide 2 and what was it? Dust 514.
Dust 514
does at least makes a dent.
Dust 514. The only reason why I think that's going to last the longest is because EVE Online is such a massive universe, and CCP doesn't do anything without it being massive.
Yeah.
And taking hours, hundreds of thousands of hours to do.
I mean,
I've been playing the goddamn game for 4 years with one character.
I mean, really, when we look at it, do we really think we'll be seeing like big MMORPGs in the next, say, by the time we hit 2020?
No.
Because that's the next decade.
No, I don't think we will.
We might not even see it in the next 5 years.
I think what we're going to see is bigger leaps in smaller party games. Like, when I mean smaller party, I mean like having 4 or 5 people play the game with you. Because you look at exactly the reason why you love Minecraft on the Xbox is because there's a community there, and it's a very small community. Like, we play the Minecraft servers with 8 people, grand total.
Laggy, but we play.
Laggy. Generally, it's about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
You know, when we play anything else like Call of Duty or Battlefield 3, it's really tight group of like, you know, just party like, you know, people.
Which is why I have a problem with Counter-Strike, because you can't party. Which is dumb.
Which is something.
God damn it, Valve! Why did you have to make that mistake?
Exactly, and I think it's definitely gonna grow. There's gonna be a bigger system.
If I want to make a bet right now, I think if there's going to be anything that could replace an MMORPG right now is if they start making action adventure MMOs. Like, say, an Uncharted style kind of game, but online in an open world. I think that's the only thing that could really keep an RPG-ish kind of game going, because the point and click now is just done.
Yeah.
It's been done into the ground. We need to be able to have the freedom.
Yeah.
It's why a game like Kingdom Hearts on the PS2 became such a big deal. Because unlike Final Fantasy, you weren't watching, you were playing.
Yeah.
You were doing.
Yeah.
And I think if you really want to make an MMORPG successful, and I know it would be a bitch to do, and I know it's going to take years until we get the internet provider and the power to be able to do this, but if you can get it to a point where it can be Kingdom Hearts-like, where you are literally controlling every swing, you might be able to get a successful game.
I think so. Absolutely. When the games get to that point where they have that kind of action, because that's another reason why I hate fantasy games. It's just our fantasy RPGs. There's one click and you're doing action.
I really wanted to get in The Witcher 2, but I could not.
Yeah.
Because I gotten so used to that same stereotypical point and watch.
It
was definitely a game that required a little more tacticalism in it, but it just wasn't enough.
And you're right, absolutely. If it was more like how Uncharted is so fluid.
I think that's why people
I'm not saying Uncharted gameplay. I'm saying because it's so easy to jump from, you know, going up and down mountains to going into combat to running away to doing barrel rolls.
I think that's why people really think Mass Effect right now is the biggest breakthrough in RPGs, because it allowed you the same feel that we got from old games like Knights of the Old Republic and Jade Empire and whatever, even Dragon Age was around that kind of deal too. Mass Effect gave us the chance to do the exact same things that all those games provided, but be able to be part of the action and not just watch the action.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much covering the entire MMO genre. Final thought?
Rest in peace, MMORPGs 2015. That's my bet.
I would have to agree with you. I think we're going to see Elder Scrolls Online come out, shimmer, and then fade into the darkness, and then that will be it for MMOs forever. We'll see WoW close their doors.
You know what? I think we could see it again at some point, but it would probably get to the point where I would not expect to see anything substantially new with it, at least until 2025, when we really start getting the technology. And maybe the virtual reality stuff starts to really come through.
Yeah.
Because VR is back and it is sexy because of the Oculus Rift. With stuff like that, there's always the possibility that something else goes. Because you remember that Futurama episode where they were playing in that own world where they were VR shooting each other.
Yeah.
Even something like that, where you could literally live a world, although that would be a very bad thing for some people.
That will be a question for another day, I think. But anyways, this has been Downloadable Opinions. If you want to find out more about us, go to DLopinions.com.
Just not right now, because apparently it's down.
We have our hosting with GoDaddy, and as you probably know, GoDaddy is down.
GoDaddy's not going anymore. It's StopDaddy right now.
Along with millions of other sites right now. Kind of sucks, but whatever. But
you can always follow us on Twitter at DLOpinions. And we do have our Facebook site as well, so you can always search us up there. And we probably won't answer you there either, but you know.
We will.
Tweet me, and that'll probably be the best way, because I do not pay attention to our Facebook page very much anymore. I think the only reason that the Facebook page has updates on it is because it's connected to the Twitter account.
There you go. But thank you for listening to us. Please like and subscribe to this channel, and we will talk to you later. Adios.